Blessings. What it do? My bad, I didn't know y'all could see me. Egregious. Hold up. How did I send this shit last time? I guess. Here we go. There we are. Pretty guys. But pretty tummy glasses. What's good, y'all? What it do? What it do? Just went live. Just went live. Tune in. My bad. Let me go ahead and promote this joint right quick. What's good, Jay Walker, King Lee? What's good, y'all? What it do? Woo, woo, woo. Y'all know we live tonight. We got a special guest. Going to have some great conversation. It's lit. It's definitely lit. Hold up, let me tweet this joint out too. B1 do. Tweet it out. Tweet it out. I just sent her that damn. I sent her the link, so she should be coming up in this during a second. What it do? Woo woo. Yeah, y'all. Tonight we have a special guest. If y'all didn't know, if you didn't read the title or didn't see the thumbnail, my guest tonight will be Erica Leshai. And my phone, I'm live on this phone where I'll be texting her, so I can't really see. Hold up. Let me send her another one now. Prettiest. Copy. I'm about to send her this one. I lied. My bad, y'all. Trying to get it together. Oh, there she go. I got it. Got it together. We got it. We in here. Hold up. It's lit. What's up, shorty?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I am, out here. I like your braids. They're cute as hell. And all those braids, they're cute.
Thank you. Yeah, you know when it's not getting warm, you got to get your hair together because you don't want to be doing it hot,
Yeah, I'm trying to get like you. I'm about to get my, I think I'm going to get some braids from Puerto Rico.
I'll check you out that's dope. When you going to Puerto Rico?
I'm not going until the end of May. I might not even go though, because I heard you got to get tested.
That's out.
I'm like, I just found that out. I'm like, I might have to cancel that trip because I'm not trying to get tested. Like, ugh.
Right. Yeah.
So we're gonna see about that. Okay. Let me see. First things first. Let me get your social handles so I can put them up here right quick. So I could, let me get your social handles. What's your YouTube is Erica Leshai, right?
Yep. Everything is basically Erica Leshai's. Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. Yeah, it's all the same thing.
Okay. What's your cash at? Erica Leshai too.
Yes, indeed.
Erica Leshai. Heard that. SoundCloud. You don't have SoundCloud. You just get it.
I do.
Oh, you do?
It's Erica Leshai.
Okay. Thought so. All right. Let me get that one up in there too. Hold up. Erica Leshai. Easy money. Shit, I could have just did one. All right. Get that up there. Okay, first things first. Let me get a good introduction in, y'all. This is Erica Leshai. All right. Today we're going to be talking about dating as a conscious Black woman because this is a beautiful conscious Black woman we have here. All right.
Wow.
And I wanted to get some of her perspective. So first things first, I got to ask, or I want you to tell everyone a little bit about your journey to consciousness. I know you're in a nation now, but before then you was in the church or involved in the church. Why don't you tell us something about that?
Right. I grew up in the church. My parents are pastors to this day. And that's where like I was basically rooted and grounded in spirituality. I know everyone's experience is different, but fortunately my parents were not um they didn't do like the traditional Eurocentric view of Christianity. So I never believed in like a white Jesus. My parents, specifically my dad, was very heavy on teaching you are gods, like that we are gods, and because that's what it says in the Bible. So he taught those type of things. He's the one who set my whole family down and had us read the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass. So he was a different kind of man. So that's to my benefit and the benefit of my whole family. But there's just still some things that I just wanted to dig deeper on. I didn't necessarily like the idea of using demons as a scapegoat, like you got a lion demon or you got a whatever demon, instead of addressing that I have character flaws that need to be fixed, because if we keep blaming it on unseen forces, we'll never change. So it was the little things like that that I didn't necessarily like. So the nation drew me because of the discipline of the drill and all of that. And then once I actually started to get deeper into the teachings, I really word.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Was so your father, he taught you he wasn't, you said he was a different type of Christian. Did he instill in you the importance of sharing that with a black man? Like, did he instill marriage and family value? Like, was that something that he knew, like, you need to grow up, you need to get married, you need to, have children? Was that something that he was traditional in that sense as well?
Yeah, my dad is very much so a traditional family man, and he's like a man's man. He don't play that, he don't play that nonsense. So he's he didn't necessarily say like, oh, you have to be with a black man, or he didn't tell my brothers like, oh, you have to be with a black woman, but it was the examples we had. Like, it's like, what else needs to be said when we see it right there? Like, after seeing the standard that my dad set for me, it's like, what else would I desire? And likewise, all my brothers, they're with black women because of the example of my mom. So it's like,
right.
doesn't need to be spoken when the example is there,
Okay. So I would assume now that it is important for you to marry or a black man, period.
That is some people say they have a preference. That's a requirement.
Oh,
Me.
We love to hear it.
It is a requirement,
What about, does he have to be a foundational black American specifically?
I would say so. I mean, I'm not ruling out everybody, because I feel like I know some people that are not like born in America and they really like understand. But for me, I would say yes, because I'd like to be fully understood and know, like, have people really understand like the workings of what we go through here,
Okay.
And then prepare our children for that, because a lot of times it's like, how do you prepare children for something you've never experienced,
Facts. I agree. I completely agree. Honestly, I'm on the same wave. I would definitely love to marry a foundational black American man. That's the goal for sure.
Right.
Now, have you always thought like that though? Have you always dealt with, as far as dating black men before, not even as far as nationality, consciousness? Because you being a conscious black woman, I know it can be a little, it can get a little tricky, dealing with men, because you start to see shit a little, you see shit differently than other women. You can peep things that they not, behaviors, red flags. It's like you catch on to a lot of stuff earlier on than a lot of women because you're conscious. You see stuff,
Right.
So how has your experience been with that, with dating black men or conscious black men too?
I honestly don't like narrow it down to conscious specifically, because and it's no shade to our conscious brothers. I really love, I love them, but a lot of times, like, because they know like the knowledge and all that kind of stuff, they use it sometimes. I won't say all the time, but they use it to cap sometimes. And it's like, all right, you don't be trying to cap me, So it's not it's not like I have anything against, because there's a lot of conscious brothers that are, very intelligent. They're very attractive, but it's like, I feel like any black man that understands his role is like, once they get involved with a woman that has like an understanding, they naturally gravitate towards more so of understanding. Because my ex, he's not your typical conscious black man. He wasn't. When we first met each other, that was not the type of time he was on, I like the fact that he was a man's man. He did things for me that a man should do, like changing my oil and making sure I was taken care of, and always, being mindful of those type of things. And then as we continued to talk and progress, he became more so like that. So now he is, I guess you would consider him conscious now, but when I initially first started dating him, he wasn't.
And what was that experience like? Because I know, like, I've dated, not honestly, like my ex was not, hell no, he was definitely not on the same wave as me. Okay, so I can definitely relate. But what are some of the positive and negatives that you get from a relationship like that with a man who's not as aware as you?
I think some of the positives is just being able to just enjoy things, because I'm a very fun loving person. And honestly, in my personal life, I don't want to be talking about woke issues. Like, if you chilling, don't bring up, you know what I'm saying? I feel like enough. We get bombarded with it when it, all over social media. And like, sometimes I don't want to. Sometimes I would like to just sit down and watch Friday and laugh. Like, I don't want to have to. So you get to be able to just chill and not like have everything become like a woke competition. What I'm saying? Like, soon as I say something, it has to be, oh, this, or like I was dealing with one dude at one point, and he was on my back about eating coconuts, because I like coconut and coconut water. And I was enjoying a coconut, and he was like, that our bodies can't digest the coconut. And I'm like, if you don't leave me alone about this coconut, you know what I'm saying? So
I eat pork. Damn, coconut.
like leave me alone, So it's good things. Like that's one of the things that I do enjoy is just being able to just chill and be, because I like that. But some of the detriments is like sometimes getting them to understand the severity of certain things, But I feel like if any person is understanding, especially if you're already if you're a black man, I feel like you have to, I mean, I won't say you have to, but there is some level of consciousness that you have. You have to know the environment that you in, unless you're crazy. You can't be oblivious to what is going on with our people, So I feel like, it's, even if there isn't like an awareness, it develops when regular conversations are had,
Okay.
And the reason being is because like my brothers, you wouldn't necessarily consider them conscious, right? My brothers, they grew up banging. We from the LA area. They grew up banging. A lot of them got tattoos on their neck, their stomach, and all of that. But it's like, who would I want with me in the trenches? You know what I'm saying? And it's them, like, hands down, it's them. And it's not to shade any of our conscious brothers. I know some real solid conscious brothers too. So I feel like I have a different perspective on it, because I would need for a man that understands like the conscious aspects, but still understands like how to speak to the streets too, because that's where I come from.
And you make a good point there, because I do notice that in a lot of conscious young brothers, more specifically, is that there's a sense of like there's a feminine culture that kind of breathes within them, because they feel like it's a need to be right. It's like, I know so much now, I gotta tell the world, now you gotta agree. And it's like you lose your masculinity being so focused on trying to prove a point. And it's like you ignoring the real shit.
I'm just the men who don't talk that much, honestly. Like, men, the way that I grew up with my brothers and stuff, it wasn't a lot of talking and going back and forth. Like, if there was a disagreement, they got down, and that was that. And then it was handled after that. And it wasn't all this going back and forth and, talking a lot. Like, that's the things that, we women would do more. So we would have conversations and stuff.
Right.
But with men, it was less words, so, and it's like I said, it's not a shade or anything. It's just like, I feel like I'm slightly different just because of how I was brought up. It's certain things that I actually kind of like, that I feel like would be nice to have in both packages, like have the conscious, and then also not be so conscious to where we're oblivious to what's going on, in the streets with our people that's in the streets still.
Right. Did you, as a matter of fact, I kind of want to ask that as well. Do you get men feeling a sense of intimidation from you because of the position you're in?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
I mean, I really like, I don't necessarily, like if someone is intimidated by me, it will be revealed rather quickly. And then that's not something that I normally stay in, like I need for someone to understand their strength and their power so they're not intimidated by mine. So that's not something that I spend a long time dealing with. If I do happen to observe it, I don't, because it's enough trying to like compete with the world and assert myself in the world and my voice and all that kind of stuff. And the last thing I want to do is have to like come home and do that. I'm not about to do that.
Okay, I feel that. When we touched on marriage, okay, and one of the biggest things I see, especially within like fake woke ass conscious black men, is polygamy. All right, and polyamory. Jesus, the poly gang. Oh my God. How do you feel? Okay, first of all, let me say this. First of all, let me ask you, do you want to get married in a traditional sense? Would you try, if that, would you do polygamy? Would you do polygamy alternatively? Or would you get married in a traditional sense and then later on, if your husband wanted to try that, would you try like later on, would you try that with your husband?
I do want to be married, but I don't know if in a traditional sense. Like, I'm not like the big fan of like paperwork and having the government all involved in what we got going on so that they can monetize it. So I'm still kind of on the fence about exactly how I would want to do that. But as far as like a polygamous or a polyamorous relationship, it's not something that I desire, but it's not something that I'm totally opposed to, because I actually have done polyamory. It was very brief that I did it, but I did it before in the past. And I honestly believe that it could work if like the participating parties, everyone has a desire to do it and everyone cares for each other, then I feel like it could be a very beneficial thing.
Oh, so you tried you said polyamory or polygamy?
Yeah, polyamory. I've never been married. It's polyamory.
Okay. Well, did you enjoy it though? You said you did like it. It worked.
It was cool. It's just not what I wanted. That was the only reason why I left that situation, because I knew that wasn't what I wanted. Especially at that time, I was younger, but and how it came to be about. I feel like how it initially started was not right, because I was with someone that I was in love with, and we had broken up. Then another girl had gotten into the picture, and like, how you go back and forth with your ex, but he was still dealing with her too. Yeah. And then he told us both that he loved us both. And at the time I was so in love, I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to try what he's talking about. I'm going to see what he's talking about. And after like meeting her, at first we despised each other because we knew about each other. We didn't, we could
women, of course.
But once I got to know her, I understood why he loved her. She's a dope person, and even still to this day, I wish her the best, and him, both of them. It's not like I come away from the situation jaded. It just wasn't for me. But the brief time that it was dope, because I feel like a man like how he was, it wasn't selfish. And I feel like the reason why a lot of times polyamory, like the conversation of polyamory or polygamy is trash, is because it comes from a selfish place. Like, men bring it up on some like, we got all this sperm, so we supposed to have a bunch of women, or they bring it up on some, well, men, you can't expect us to be monogamous. Like, the reasons are not, I want to provide for multiple households, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially. It's like, if that was your whole purpose, then okay, maybe we could do something with that. But if your whole reason is like, I have no discipline because I just gonna hump whoever I see, then that's very selfish, and you're not considering other families, children, and all of that. So the person I was dealing with, he wanted for us to get a home together. He wanted to start a family. It wasn't just about, I got these two women, and it wasn't that. He wanted to start a family, and he understood the role of providing. Like, me and her, we'd be hanging out, we'd be hiking and stuff. We decide we want to go get something to eat. We hit him up, and he'd send his money. Like, all right, y'all go eat, and we go and we would eat, and then he would come home from work. We'd be cooking something. Like, he was doing what he was supposed to do.
Oh wow, that's cool. But y'all was living separately? Was y'all living separately?
At the time, she had just moved in with him, and he was he wanted me to come, and he wanted us to like get a house, but he had to know that I was like gonna be with it, before he started the house process and all that kind of stuff, So it didn't get to that point because I determined that it was not for me, but I didn't come away from the situation jaded, is what I'm saying. You know,
That's a blessing.
I feel like it could work if that is legitimately what everyone wants, and if it's approached in a way that, like, because the way I went into it was, I don't want to lose this person, and I don't think it should be approached from that aspect. You know.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And that makes sense. Shahrazad Ali talked about possessive loving, black women practicing possessive loving, you know what I'm saying, in her book 30 years ago. And that's something that we still haven't unlearned, you know. So that's
Right.
I think you're the first person I've talked to that actually tried polygamy and, you know,
It's
personally
not
said that,
bad.
you know, yeah, it's not
I'm
totally
not,
bad. That's a
I'm not
blessing.
knocking it. I really think it could be a beautiful thing, you know, if it's done properly, if it's not selfish, you know,
Mm,
because initially when I got into it, I felt like I never would be able to do this because I couldn't see like my man, you know, possessive. I couldn't see my man being like in love with somebody else. But I realized that I have like a very big capacity to love, because seeing him happy made me happy. I was like, okay, this situation is making him happy, and he loves her, and I understand why, because she's a dope person, and he loves me too, you know. So I know it sounds crazy talking about it, but
now that's just
I'm
sounds cool though.
still
I've
I
been
feel like it could
interested in
work. Yeah,
it.
if it's not selfish, it can't be on some we got a whole bunch of sperm, or you know, we can't be monogamous. It got to be on some, I love these women and I want to start a family, and I want to provide for the women and the children,
Mm.
emotionally, spiritually, mentally, financially, physically, because all these men talking about they can't be monogamous. Like, where's your stamina? Or you feel me? Do you
Hey,
have the
look, you
I
gotta
can't
make
be
it.
monogamous stamina?
That's a fact.
Do you?
That's a fact.
You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of
You
y'all
don't know about
saying
that
are
poly.
lying. You saying, "Oh, I can't be monogamous." Your stamina saying, "Yes, the hell you can."
You're
You
standing there
know?
saying, brother, slow down. You ain't got
Yeah,
that much in you.
exactly. So it's like, as long as it's approached from a place of like selflessness, then I feel like it could work. You
Okay.
know?
As a matter of fact, in polygamy, a big argument inside the conscious community is whether the answer to black unity is either polygamy or marriage. What do you think? What's your thoughts? Do you think it's polygamy is something more black people should be practicing?
I feel like to each his own. Honestly, I
Mm.
feel like some people, if they want to be married and they want to be monogamous, let them do that if they feel it's best for themselves and their family. And if some people want to practice polygamy, let them do that. You know, I feel like there's like, everything isn't for everybody. It doesn't mean that like the other options are not good options. It just means that people have to settle into what is best for them. You know,
I feel that.
that's what I think.
I feel it. And that's really because a lot of our families, a lot of black couples, black American couples specifically, we practice a de facto form of polygamy anyways, with all the cheating. You know, we got so many single mothers, so many baby mothers out here. It's
Right.
like, if y'all all just chose with your baby, y'all all still fucking him. Y'all know y'all still fucking y'all each other. So why would y'all just choose to be with the man? God, you want
Mm-hmm.
to be with him anyway. I don't understand it. I'm not
Right.
understanding it.
No,
Jesus.
that's true. That's real too. I mean, it just requires a more of a level of responsibility for everybody. It takes people not being selfish, and it takes for the men like really stepping into that role. I feel like when we talk about polygamy, we talk more about it in regards to monogamy is not like possible and feasible, as opposed
Mm.
to can men shoulder the burden? Because that's what it's about. Can you shoulder the burden of multiple households? You know, can you?
A
Like,
lot of them.
can we flip the way we're having these conversations? Like, well, you might as well accept it
Mm.
because you're doing it anyway. No, like, can he actually have some accountability too? Like, women, we could accept it, but men, get your stuff together so you can provide for all these households if that's what you want.
Yeah, this is true because a lot of these same men, you know, on the flip side of that, like you said, the same men who do have these multiple baby mothers and are fucking with these, whether they having still having sex or in a half-ass relationship or not, a lot of them still have like they're not doing everything they could, and this honestly a part of that is not even on the man because I think a lot of women use it as manipulation. Like they don't even want them to be there all the way, so that way they feel like they got upper hand. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
It's kind of sick.
It is. It's a lot of I've seen the using children as leverage thing a lot. You know, I have four brothers. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? And so, and I don't have any sisters. I'm the only girl. And so you know, I'm glad that things are good now, but in the past, I have seen some manipulation, some,
Mm.
you know, and it's like, yeah, we have to make sure that we're not being manipulative, we as women, when it comes to like the children in that aspect, because that's trash. It don't hurt nobody but the children.
That's
You know?
facts. This is facts. That's what really, who really matter is the children because they the future. So,
Hmm.
now let me see. Now, because you are conscious, and you're very pretty, you do music,
Thank you.
entrepreneur, you out here getting it. Um, a lot of women, not even you specifically, but a lot of women who are your caliber, like you, maybe in the same group, that we tend to overvalue ourselves. We kind of get an altered perspective of who we are or how people view us. And it kind of shows in how we choose who we choose to date. Or the lack of who we choose in the date. So do you think, have you ever struggled? Do you find yourself struggling with that of, really keeping yourself humble and, not being too detached just because you're knowledgeable,
I would say that I struggle with that in like my first like serious relationship,
Mm.
the one that turned into a polyamorous one. And I feel like it got to that point because I don't think it's a like a overvaluing thing. If you do know that you own your stuff, you keeping yourself up, you are working to make yourself better, you're whether or not you're an entrepreneur or you're actively working on whatever craft that you have, it's understanding the need and the necessity for appreciation. Like I can be great, but that doesn't mean that everyone else isn't, you know? And so in my first relationship, um, I was, always considered like a catch. My ex's friends, they would say things like, "Oh, you lucky you got her," and all that kind of stuff, right? You know, but it's like I was rare in that sense, but he was rare too, you know?
Mm.
So because I was like, I knew that I was the prize and I'd heard that type of language all the time, from my dad and, my brothers and my mom and all of that. He would do certain things. And instead of me responding like I should, responding like, "Oh, I appreciate this. I appreciate what you're doing." My response would be like, "Oh, this is what you're supposed to do."
Mm.
So I feel like in regards to men and women alike, and especially men, um, the need to appreciate has to be there. So I can value myself, but I also have to value the person that I'm dealing with, and I feel like that's where we miss it. Like it's not an overvaluing thing,
Mm.
so to
Okay.
speak. It's a fact. It's a thing that I value myself, and I may undervalue the person that I'm with. I don't tell them enough that I appreciate them, or I don't show them that I appreciate them with my actions, and things of that nature. So I feel like that's a really big thing because I actually had, and this is so ironic, but I had a conversation like with that first ex. We got together when I was like 20. We were
Okay.
together
Oh,
for
so this was
years.
how long ago was it?
This is like a decade ago,
Oh, damn.
you
Okay.
know, that we first got together. We first got together a decade ago, and we were together for some years. And we had a conversation because we hadn't talked in a couple of years, but he had reached out to me at the beginning of this year, and we had a really good conversation. And I was able to tell him like he wanted to apologize for like some of the things he had said to me, and I'd always wanted to apologize to for not being appreciative, and I told him that a lot of times like men, they'll get with a woman that they consider like a good woman, they consider a good catch, and anybody would want to be with her, but you get with this woman and she still don't treat you like, like how you should be treated. She still is not appreciating you and all that other kind of stuff, so it makes you think, as a man, that like it doesn't matter what woman I get with, these women don't know how to appreciate men, and I told him that. And I
Mm.
apologized because I said I felt like I low key damaged you. Like I was toxic to you then and I didn't know it.
Oh, wow.
When he told me that that's legit how he felt, it was a good conversation, and I was able to admit my faults and he was able to admit his. So I feel like it boils down to if I'm gonna value myself, make sure that the person that I won't say equal, but the person that I get with, make sure that I value them as well. I don't make them feel like they're less than me or they're lucky to be with me. We are both lucky to be with each other and we need to treat
Mm.
each other as such.
Facts. I like that. I love that actually, and that's beautiful that I went back and had a conversation about that.
Hmm.
Healing conversations is definitely a necessity for progression. And Black people on an individual level, but definitely on a national scale as well, us as a group.
Right.
I was about to say on the flip side of that too, how do you deal with men who are infatuated? Because you are in the position that you're in, a lot of the times men can just get caught up in the image, and just what they think that you are, So how you deal with that? How you could pick up on the men that's
That's
doing
a
that?
no-go. That's a red flag. That's a no. Look, let me tell you, that was my because I've been in like 2 like serious relationships. Now the first one that I was in, and then the more recent one, that was him. He was enamored with me from jump. As soon as we started talking, he thought I was just so great and all that kind of stuff. And that's a red flag. Any man that like gets with you and he just thinks the world of you before he even know you, like you don't even know me to be this infatuated with me. You know what I'm saying? And it lets me know that you're infatuated with this illusion of me that you built. And as soon as I fall short of that illusion, you're going to be disappointed. And I'm going to fall short because this illusion that you've created is not me,
Right.
So whenever I see that, I run from it. Like it's a man now that just thinks I'm so wonderful and wants me to be his wife and all of that. And it's like, I hear you, brother. I appreciate it. But you feel me? You talking like that make me want to dip because you don't even know me. You
gotta be all for a little. I think a lot of men, especially black men, a lot of them grew up being blue pilled, and a lot of us don't realize that. A lot of them are catered to women, especially the ones that was raised by single women, and they don't realize that we pick up on that effeminate trait. Those feminine traits. We don't want a man to be like I'm supposed to be on you. You ain't supposed to be all up on me. It feels weird to put me in that position.
I don't mind the appreciation, but when it's early, you don't even know me.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah.
You don't know me well enough to be feeling like this. It's like you've constructed an illusion. Like you think I'm a certain way. And then when you find out that I'm not like how you think, it's going to be a problem. So that's why I'm not like, because I don't mind being appreciated. I mean, I don't want a man that's calling me every hour. It's like, what you doing with your life? You ain't got no business you handling. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, don't like, if you don't know me well enough to be on that type of time, then don't be on that type of time. Because now you're creating an illusion and I'm going to fall short of it and it's going to be problems later,
That's a fact. Now, speaking of a lot of men in our community being blue pill, now, a big thing that's going on right now is the red pill community, okay? Which is male-centered content, but more specifically, the black male-centered content, the black manosphere has been kind of explosive right now, the last couple months, should I say.
Right.
More specifically, Kevin Samuels. My guy, all right? Now, I fuck with Kevin Samuels. I fuck with his content, okay? Now, but there's a lot of black women who disagree completely, or that disagree. They won't even listen to the man because they just seen the clip and now they just don't even care what he got to say, okay?
Right.
Do you think, even more specifically Kevin Samuels, do you think the explosiveness of his content reflects on the lack of accountability black women have been practicing throughout the years?
Most definitely. I feel like when men see people like Kevin Samuels, they're like, finally, someone who understands, who gets it, because there's a lot of like shaming that goes on in regards to men stating their opinions and how they feel, like we as women, we get to say stuff like, we don't want a short dude. We get to say stuff like, we don't want a fat man. We get to say stuff like, we don't want a man who ain't packing. You feel me? And whether or not a man is packing and whether or not a man is short or not, these are things that they can't control, and we get to say that. And no one looks at us like we wrong. But as soon as a man say, I don't want a woman that's overweight, he's fat phobic, he's misogynistic, So I feel like, because I don't agree with everything Kevin Samuels says, but I feel like the other end is necessary for balance. Like we can't just have one voice on one side constantly being heard and the other voice is diminished and no one hears that side. So even if you don't agree, understand that the voice is necessary for balance, because we get to have our spaces where we talk and we, have all these conversations about men and what they not doing right and all this other kind of stuff. Like, why not let them have their space where they have that too? The balance is needed. They have to be able to get some of that out. And the thing is with men, they don't get it out. That's why they die quicker than us. Men do not live as long as women, especially our men. You know, they have so much stress and stuff that's built up. They have to hold so much stuff in. Men are naturally stronger than us, so they have to use more restraint as to not blow up and really hurt somebody. And when they hold all that in, it legit eats away at their insides. You know what I'm saying? So it's good for them just to be able, if not anything, to just get stuff out, how they feel it and voice it the same way we're able to, you know?
That's a fact. And I'm glad you hit on that point, because I think a lot of Black women are ignoring the fact that so many Black men felt unheard, felt ignored. And that's why really they had to create this whole space on the internet, because they are not seeing that reflect in their real lives, seeing women listen to them in real lives. Now, you have 4 brothers, actually. Do you think, what's your perspective? Do you think in Black men or Black women have really been listening to Black men outside of the internet?
No, I don't think that, I don't feel like our culture encourages Black men to be heard. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't. You know, we have things like sayings that are popular, like happy wife, happy life. And, you know, as a woman, we'd be like, yeah, that's right. That's not, like, that's very one-sided. It's a very one-sided way to think. And I feel like sometimes as women, we have to acknowledge like our privilege in that area. We say that, you know, like when it comes to white privilege and stuff like that, like people who have privilege, they're not going to want to give it up. And we have to look at ourselves and understand that we have a bit of that, where we're able to talk, we're able to have our conversations, we're able to be heard on a grander scale. And we have that, and we're not trying to give it up. And it's like, instead of us being selfish, we have to understand that there has to be a balance, you know? And with my brothers, we've always been able to talk, you know what I'm saying? Which is why I felt like I had a little bit more insight, but I'm not going to say much more insight, because even though I grew up with all the male influence around me, I still don't know how men think. I never will, because I'm a woman and they be thinking different. You know so yeah, but I do feel like it's important for them to be heard and know that it's okay for their voices to be heard.
I feel that. And matter of fact, on the other side of that, what has your experience been like? Because as you said, we've been in a position of privilege almost. The Black community, foundational Black Americans, we've kind of been living under a sort of matriarch. You got these fucking diverse feminists out here screaming about patriarchy, and that's not even, shit, that ain't even a problem.
Nobody got time.
What has your experience been like? What's some of the behaviors you've noticed in Black women that has attributed to Black men being unheard?
I mean, it's a lot of stuff. It's just thinking that, because I feel like the one of the biggest behaviors is being applauded by this white society and feeling that that's progress for Black people as a whole. That's one of the behaviors that I detest the most, and the one that is the most prevalent within Black women specifically. It's like we begin to say things and do things, with the whole election season that came around, and we got all these articles and stuff, Black women save this country, and they're being saved by Black women. And a lot of us was like, yeah, we're saving the country. It's like, no, no, I'm not saving this country. You feel me? Like, this country don't love us, and oh, we love you, Black women, and all that kind of stuff. And you guys have saved the country until we get on that birthing table. Until it comes time for us to produce more of ourselves, then they trying to kill us. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's one of the main things that I've seen is believing that carving out a space in this white society for Black women is going to somehow help our community as a whole, and that's like the opposite of what that does.
Facts. And you know what? I've noticed that a lot of our women, a lot of our mothers, let me bring it back to Shahrazad Ali. Now, she brought that, Shahrazad Ali dropped that book, The Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman, in the 80s, what was that, early 90s, late 80s? Like about 30 years ago. Now, then that was our mothers, those were our aunts, our mothers, our teachers, telling this woman, you're wrong. You don't have any, you're ignorant. You're a Black woman hater. You just want us to be held down by Black men. Coming at this woman neck. Now, 30 years later, look at them and their daughters. Okay. How do you think? How do you? I'm sorry. Let me get this right. Have you seen that effect it play out in millennials and Gen Zers, or should I say, Black women today? From their mothers. How do you think that mindset affected us?
I mean, I think that it definitely negatively affected us. It affected us in a very detrimental way, you know. Um, I wholeheartedly believe that overall change starts with the individual. And when people stop being introspective, when they stop looking at themselves and saying, oh, maybe I can be better, or maybe I can learn to listen more, or maybe I can be more understanding, or maybe I could be a little bit more selfless. When we stop doing that and then putting the blame on everybody else, it's always going to have a detrimental effect, you know? And
Mm,
so we see that now. We see us blaming everybody else. I mean, we ducking and dodging accountability to our own detriment and demise. You know, I read an article that said damn near half of millennials, which is my age group, you feel me, people born between the 80s and I guess the 90s.
yeah, I think it's like 90. I think it stopped at 96.
Yeah, people born in
Mm,
the 80s and 90s. It's like almost half of them have like a chronic health issue, like a chronic
mm,
illness to where they're suffering from high blood pressure. And it's like these people are 40, like they're just turning 40. You know what I'm saying? But we ducking and dodging accountability. We don't want nobody to tell us that being obese is very bad. You know,
mm.
we don't want to hear that kind of stuff. So I feel like this whole hard-headed mentality of not accepting um, critique when you should accept it has caused what we see here today, you know?
Well, what do you say to the young sisters that's because a lot of us aren't listening to shout out to Yana Van Zant. She said that Black woman was out of order. She said that a few years ago, and then she came out again and said we still out of order and we need to close our damn legs and open our hearts. I
Right.
wholeheartedly agree. You know what I'm saying? But a
Hmm.
lot of us aren't listening to the older women. A lot of us aren't listening to the Ayanna Van Zants, to the Shahrazad Ali's. So what do you say to the young sisters that's trying to get correct, but are having a hard time on their journey because they have no guidance. Their mothers aren't there, or their sisters are practicing the same toxic behaviors that Shahrazad Ali was calling out.
I would say just start seeking out different people who are being more of an example, you know what I'm saying, and or trying to at least voice the right things, you know, like a lot like one of the other things I feel is that's happened in our communities is we get into an echo chamber of our own beliefs. You know, we surround ourselves with people who only think like how we think, and then we wonder like why we become like mentally stale and stagnant. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like if we are surrounded by people who are, you know, um, promoting like detrimental lifestyles, I would say just seek out people who are doing something different. Seek out people who are saying things that might be a little bit uncomfortable to hear, but you know that it's right. Because we know truth when we hear it. We know
Mm,
what it is. Like a lot of people might pretend like they don't know and all that kind of stuff. Or you know truth when it hits you. You feel me? No
facts.
one can
That's
negate
true.
that. You know when it's true. So if you hear some truth and it hits you and it's a little abrasive, then that's where you need to be. Like let
Mm,
the truth hit you. You know, don't run away from it because you're used to hearing something that's comfortable and something that everyone is saying is politically and socially acceptable. You know?
facts. Hey, and as a matter of fact, I think it's very important even for us, millennials, Gen Zers, to be speaking out against um some of these not even speaking out against, but just speaking on some of
Yeah.
these concepts, dating and marriage and your value, things of that nature. Because even
Right.
honestly, even the older ones that are conscious, they tend to have their own uh, unawareness about them. Like I noticed even the conscious Black women, older Black women, they still have that it's almost like cognitive dissonance,
Yeah.
they can see the problem, but they don't see it within themselves, and so
Yeah.
that relates in their message, and it's like they're missing it. That's what that aspect is what they're missing when they're talking to young women. They can't relate to that.
Right. Yeah. It is
So
and
yeah,
it's
definitely respect. I just want to say that, 'cause respect you coming out here and speaking the way you speak. It's a blessing.
yeah.
Let me see. Now a big thing as well, our mother's generation really flicked the switch on a gender war, if we're being honest. They really said, let's play this game. It's time for us to play this game. And it shows up a lot. throughout our culture now in the millennials and Gen Zers. One of the biggest things is divesting. This whole feminist movement where it's like, well, we're gonna move on without black men. We're gonna go our own way. We're gonna date out and explore our options.
Lord.
What's your thoughts?
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my life. It's just so dumb. First of all, I mean, there's just several reasons why it's just dumb. You feel me? A lot of the times these women are black women. Well, they're not a lot. These are black women, right? Who love black girls. They always on some black girl magic and melanin this, melanin that. You feel me? But you want to get, with a white man and create like these little mixed children. And I ain't got nothing against mixed children, but create these mixed children that y'all be hating on, because a lot of times it be the so-called divestors who be saying stuff like, I'll bring up a marriage statistics. I'll bring up the fact that 87% of black men who are married to black women, right? And they'll be like, well, they only married to light-skinned women. It's like, where'd you get this from? Were you just pulling statistics out your butt? Like, what is this? But they say stuff like that, but then you want to go and get with a white man and create more of these light skins. You feel me? And it's just like, it's so ridiculous to me. So the notion is just obscene, first of all, like, and then you're not going to move on without black. Like, you can't make more like black girl magic and all that kind of stuff by not creating more like melanin rich black people. Like, that just don't work. So the whole point is null and void. And then third of all, it's like, you just assume that these white men like just is lusting over y'all and want y'all. You feel me? Like, you throwing yourself at them and they looking at you like, ugh.
Right.
Like, what is this? Because no person who, like, any logical person is not going to want to deal with someone who despises their own. Like, if it, like, white men, I'll see it in the comments. It'll be these girls on Twitter talking about, I'm gonna divest, I'm gonna give me a white man. And the white man be in the comments like, no, keep that to yourself. Because they don't they don't want that. Like, you want yourself. What I look like trying to love somebody that hate themselves. You know what I'm saying? It don't make any sense, And then, I mean, I won't even get into like the gene pool thing.
Oh yeah.
Because I'll offend some folk,
Yeah,
and
giving away our shit. Yeah, that's a fact.
But it's science. You feel me? Like, if I'm gonna have children, I want to make the most genetically sound children I can make. You feel me? We as black people have the greatest genetic diversity. If me and you are around 100 white people, between the two of us, we got more genetic diversity than those 100 white people combined. I'm not even trying to even consider watering down my gene pool. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you. I
feel
you.
Several reasons why that don't make no damn sense.
As a matter of fact, hold up. I should have pulled this bit up. Hold up.
It don't make no sense. And then, I mean, there's just so much stuff. Like, I was on Twitter and it was this black woman she was so distraught. Are you playing a video?
I'm about to. Go ahead.
No, I just saw this little tweet, and it was this black woman who was like so distraught over like what this man had told her daughter about her hair. Her daughter had, I guess her hair was out and it was in its natural state. And she was like, oh, I'm so upset. He told her that her hair was messy and that she should put it in a ponytail. And she's like, and now my daughter wants to put her hair in her ponytail because of him. And everybody in the comments going off like, oh, did you tell him off and blah, blah, blah. And then come to find out from looking further down in the tweet, the man who told her daughter this was the girl's father.
Oh my God.
Yes. A white man.
Egregious.
So it's like, what are we doing? You feel me? You got with a man who's gonna give your child complexes about how they view themselves.
And they love to ignore that part of the conversation when they talk about racial.
Yeah, this little girl growing up, she thinks her natural hair is ugly because her father told her so. Like, what are we talking about?
And now this is the type of man you're raising your child to go after. The one that don't even like her ass.
Right. And I'm just like, like, if we just laying down with somebody, don't lay down with somebody that look at your natural hair and be like, ugh. Like, what is this? It's craziness to me. So
self-hatred is real.
Really?
It's real.
Really.
All right. Let me I want to play this quick little clip I got from off one of your YouTube lives. I'm sorry, one of your Instagram lives on YouTube, which you need to put on YouTube your damn self, because this is somebody else shit. But your live. I want to play this clip right quick.
Independent black women, as if independence is something that we pride ourselves to being strong.
Now, why are you gonna do this to me, Erica? How you gonna go out on me right now, Erica?
As if
Let's try again. Hold up.
Okay.
We pride ourselves being strong, independent Black women, as if independence is something that we should strive for as a people. Independence is death. Everybody needs somebody. And the reason why we're struggling in our households and our communities is because we think that there's something good about being independent. Black women need Black men, and Black men need Black women. You feel me? And I'm not going for the nonsense in my comments. I'm really not.
I was going for the nonsense in the comments. What are you talking about?
Folks be trying me. Well, what about you love who you love and you can't help who you fall in love with? Like that kind of rhetoric. It like, first of all, you can, because I feel like all these things are intentional. Like, because like say I like somebody, right? That requires me getting to know them. That requires me going on dates. That requires me talking to them on the phone. I have control over all of that. Before I get deep into my feelings with somebody, I can control that. You feel me? And I'm not even going to open myself up to have like these conversations and these dates and these phone calls and get deeply invested in a white person. I'm just not.
Why would you? Why would you want to?
I can't just fall in love. Because if that's the case, I'll fall in love with you. Well, I like her. She's a cool person. We in love now. Like, we have control over all of this. You can't just haphazardly fall into love. It takes an effort. It's the effort of getting to know someone. And if you're going to put in the work and the effort to get to know somebody, why not put in the effort and work to get to know somebody Black?
Yeah, that's a fact. And you know what? I think that's kind of been missing, at least. Well, you were blessed with a conscious family, conscious Black mother and father, as was I. So that part of that was already, don't bring on a white boy. That was already kind of in me for, what I'm saying, at least on the surface level. But I feel like what's missing a lot is that even if you want to talk about it outside of interracial, is intentional dating. We're not really taught to intentionally date, especially with the newer generations. Like I said, the last generation set off set the switch on this playing this gender war. And so a lot of our mothers is on some shit. Like, I hear older Black women all the time talking about they on some hot girl summer shit. Like, they just out here, whether they look at and a lot of them are single mothers or they've been in relationships for a long time, but they look at their relationships like, oh, I was only in it because of your father. I was only in it because my family, but then that message gets misconstrued with young girls. So we like, damn, we start looking at relationships like, damn, do we really want that? Well, maybe I should date around in college first,
Yeah. Like, the thing is this, it's like, we're the only race of people who don't understand that there's a science of like mating. And that's one of the things that I love about the teachings of the Nation of Islam, because they go into detail with like the science of mating. We think that it's just all about like love. And so when we hear stuff like, well, I stayed for the family and I stayed for all that, we don't understand that like it's bigger than just being in love with somebody, because that's gonna like subside. When you with somebody for some years, you know what I'm saying? Like, you love them, but then y'all be getting on each other's nerves sometimes. It ain't always like, oh, lovey-dovey and we're so in love and we, posting selfies and ussies and all that kind of stuff together. It's not that all the time. Sometimes I can't stand this Negro. You feel me? And I've seen it. I've seen times where my mama couldn't stand my daddy and vice versa. I was like, oh, they're not rocking with each other right now. And it's normal. You're not always like, because do you always love your friends all the time? Like, you got people that you cool with. Yeah. And sometimes your friends get on your nerves. Does that mean you're not friends no more? Does it mean the whole friendship was a lie? No. That's just how life goes. But our society is so dumb that it's convinced everyone that having any type of argument or disagreement is toxicity and narcissism. No, it's not. You just don't know how to deal with people. That's all.
That's you know what? It's a choice to stay with them. A lot of our parents, a lot of our grandmothers, and mothers before then, they chose to stay with their men, because, you got a lot of Black women right now, they get out of relationships and the first thing they scream is, oh, he was abusive. I got out because he was abusive.
Right.
And a lot of the times, we're not even being completely honest. We are very aggressive in our masculine behaviors. We can be very antagonizing, even with the abuse. So it's not even really abuse. A lot of times it's reaction. It's not abuse.
Yeah, it's arguments. It's simple relationship stuff. And I tweeted that one day, like, we got to stop calling like simple relationship ups and downs abuse, because it's not. Like, if this Negro disagree with you, he ain't gaslighting you. Stop it. It's not abuse. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's call abuse, because when you call in simple, like, arguments and stuff abuse, it waters down what actual abuse is. You feel me? And that's a huge problem. But honestly, that's what I think it is. Like you said, it's like they chose to stay with each other. That's one of the things my parents told me, that like marriage and a family is about being committed. It's about knowing that regardless of what happens, we sticking with each other. You know, I'm not trying to run soon as something crazy happens or whatever disappointments, because disappointments will come. We're going to be disappointed by the people that we love, because those are the only ones who could really disappoint us. You feel me? Like, the ones we love are the only ones who have the power to disappoint us. So it's gonna happen, you know. But it's like, what do you do when that happens? You know, do you label it as toxic and then not have anybody close to you in your life? I was reading another article that was talking about like how the average millennial doesn't really have any like true friends.
Wow.
Like, back in the day, people had like at least like 3 to 4 core friends, like the generations before us. But now we so on this everybody and everything is toxic wave that we don't even preserve relationships. We just let them go at the first sign of issue and label it toxicity. You know what I'm saying? And our relationships are the same way. You know, we're not trying to thug it out or stick with good people. We throw away good people because our cutoff game is so strong. Nah, it's the communication game is weak, is what it boils down to.
I like that.
You know?
That's a fact. That's a fact. And a lot of us weren't taught good communication skills, to be honest. And it shows heavily within the culture today with these young men and women, and especially, as a matter of fact, just young men, because I made a video about this. There being a sense of passivity within young Black men, that feminine energy, you know, where they're kind of afraid or hesitant to talk to women. You know, like a lot of them, they can get up on Instagram and DM and swipe up and swipe left, all this. But then when it comes to in-person talking and actually getting to know someone, dating someone, courting, they're lost.
Exactly. Yeah, that's definitely a thing. I mean, I've seen that happen. It's more and more prevalent like as time goes on. You know what I'm saying? Because we haven't learned how to communicate with one another. We don't people don't talk to each other, you know. And I mean, our society has made it that way. You know what I'm saying? We've pushed us to a society of political correctness, you know, to where people can't talk and men can't approach you and all that kind of stuff. You know, like honestly, well, I can't say if I were a man, but it's scary, because if you do approach a woman, it can be, you know, perceived as a certain way, as like you're giving her unwanted advances, and you know, we say those type of things when it benefits us. Like if somebody that we don't really want to rock with come talk to us, it's, oh, he being thirsty and he giving us unwanted advances, but let him be cute. You know, we keep keying stuff now, you know, oh, it's no problem. You know what I'm saying? So we pick and choose when we want to, you know, so I feel like, and I'm not just trying to say it's like all the women, but I feel like society has made it like that, to where it's harder for men to like be men and approach and do the type of things that men should do. You know, they've lost this assertiveness that men are supposed to have, that women are inherently attracted to. You know, I don't know if you watch A Different World.
I watched that. I didn't binge watch the whole season, I think.
All right. But it's an episode where Whitley and Dwayne had gotten into an argument, right? And he like came in her place and he was like, look, I don't like us not talking.
I know what you're talking about.
You my woman, we gonna get this straight, right? And so he walked away and she looked at her homegirl and was like, come on. And then she got her stuff and came on, you know, and it's like, we can't, like, when it's something in us that craves that, you know what I'm saying? And society has told men that kind of assertiveness is abuse, you know, and so it makes them even apprehensive to act on that assertiveness that they are supposed to have, you know.
You know what, you see it a lot of, you see the roles reversed in women, because you see a lot of that masculine energy with a lot of Black women, a lot of assertive. I mean, I've heard Black women straight up say, like, walk up to dudes and be like, yo, let me get your, I mean, you cute, let me get your number, like, where you from? Like, it's very like direct, you know, like to a point. I've seen some men get like turned off by it. Like, nah, I'm good. Like, I'm good. Like, you treat me like a girl now. I'm good. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So have you noticed that? Have you dealt with that as well? Dealing with or noticed that young Black women being a little too masculine when dating with men, dealing with Black men?
Yeah, I feel like it's a definite role reversal that has happened with our people. And we feel comfortable and empowered enough, to do that, And like I said, it all stems from the society. I don't feel like any of it happened by accident. I feel like it was a purposeful feminizing of our men. And some of us advocate for that. Some of us, are co-signing the destruction of our own families. And then it's a purposeful masculinization of the women, because we're so empowered. We feel empowered. We can do these. Women can approach men. Women can propose to men and all that kind of stuff.
Jesus.
Right.
Propose a little man. Damn.
I will rather count all the sand, all the grains of sand on the shore in California, all of California, than to propose to a man.
Oh, I agree. Hell no, I'm never posting over. I don't know. My knee's too pretty to be getting down on one knee. I'm not doing it.
And people don't understand what that's supposed to symbolize. Like, when we pray, we get down on both knees as a form of like submission. You know what I'm saying? And so when a man gets down on one knee, it's saying that in this moment he is submitting himself to her will, whether or not she will accept him or not. It's very symbolic, the reasoning why some of these things are done, So I don't know. It's just like we shouldn't be, and I'm not saying women don't submit. I feel like there's a submitting ourselves one to another type of thing. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel like submit is a bad word. You feel me? So
well, yeah, but Ali said submitting is just really agreeing. It's just agreement,
Right.
At the end of the day, you're just trying to find the right man that you can agree with. You can get on his accord,
Mm-hmm.
I think that scares that word actually. Submit. It scares a lot of Black women.
It's a scary
we hear that and we think slave.
But the thing is, it's like, how do we say we want a man who's assertive and can lead if we're not willing to follow? Like, that's not how that works. We can't say, oh, I want a man that does this and he takes charge and all that kind of stuff. A two-headed person is a monster. You know what I'm saying? We need to start basking in our role. Like, one of the things my mom would say is that, like, the man, he's the head of the household. Because my parents, they were traditional people, and that's how I saw it. And I saw it work. They have properties that have acres of land. You feel me? All these grandchildren. I got all these nieces and nephews running around. But my mom, she would say the man is the head of the household, but the woman has the divine influence. She's the neck, and she could turn that head to make it look at whatever she wants to. You know? So it's like, if we just bask and settle in our role, it'll be how it's supposed to be, and they settle into theirs. And roles aren't a bad thing. Like, people hear like things like roles and what men and women. I'm not saying that the roles have to be defined for each person, but just have some sort of roles. You know what I'm saying? Have something set, because nothing that exists without a function. The cells in our body have roles and have things that they're supposed to do. And you know what it's called when our cells don't do what they're supposed to do? That's called cancer. It's one of the deadliest diseases known to mankind. We're trying to operate like cancer cells out here, thinking that we're going to have a strong family unit. No, we're not.
It's impossible. You're working backwards.
Exactly. You're working against your own body. So it's like, we gotta understand that it's nothing wrong with having roles, and I'm not saying that other people should define your roles for you, but have them, because everything requires some form of discipline and structure as to how it's going to work,
And do you find yourself feeling pressure because even I'm 24. What are you, 30, 31? You just turned 31. Happy belated birthday, by the way. But yeah, even I'm 24 and I feel like a bit of pressure on me to make sure that I do find a good Black man, or that I do marry a solid Black man. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, I get a lot of brothers in the DM that's like, and it's kind of annoying, because everybody feel like they just the perfect king that they should be. I should be on their throne next to them and shit. And if I don't want to be there, I'm just the worst. Like, how you gonna miss out on this kingdom, sis? So do you feel yourself feeling that pressure, even being a little older now, to settle down, to get married, to, to set that example for other Black women?
Not necessarily. I mean, when I do things, I understand that my life is my own. You know what I'm saying? And while I don't want to, while I do want to be a good example if people, are looking to me, I want to be a good example. Like, I don't want to get with somebody just for the sake of getting with somebody, because it's my life. Like, the way that I consider marriage is that, like, once you get married to somebody or you're with somebody, you're going to end up being with them for longer than you were by yourself. Like, my mom, my parents, they've been married for a minute. Like, they got together in their 20s and they're in their 60s now. They've been with each other for longer than they were just by themselves.
Damn.
So it's like I have time to get myself together. You know what I'm saying? Because one of the things that my dad told me is that, like, a lot of people, they're looking for their other half. And he said, and that's flawed. Like, two half people don't come together to make a whole. Like, you have to be whole within yourself. So even though, like, being a good example and all that would be nice, I really want to be a real example. Let me be whole and get myself fully together and then come together with another whole person so that we can actually have a functional and productive family. You know what I'm saying? Have a household that the children that we do have won't have to recover from,
Trying to fix those generational curses as you should. That's a blessing.
So I'm not rushing into nothing. I'm not rushing into anything. I keep myself very together. I mean, I might be 31, but I don't look it,
Oh, hell no.
I'll be straight, when I do start having children and all of that. It's not to say that there isn't, folk that I'm, interested in and sweet on at the time, but we're seeing where things go, and we doing our thing in silence. When stuff is in its infancy stages, you keep it to yourself for the time being. Like when
do you do that strategically? Do you try to keep anybody you're being intimate or talking to, especially in the spotlight? You try to keep it on the low.
Yes, I keep it on the low. Because sometimes women, they don't understand. Like, they'll see like a man that's with a woman, and for some reason he's more attractive because he's in a relationship. You feel me? So they go after him like, oh, I see him being good to her and all of that, so let me go slide into his DM. Because like in the last relationship that I was in, I guess somebody that followed me was like really watching me closely, and she was all in my dude's DM talking about how much he likes me, and oh, I just think Erica's just so dope, blah blah blah. And then little by little trying to like shoot her little shot. Weird. So what I think is that, like, anything, not even just like relationships, but anything that you're building, if it's in its like beginning stages, like, build it in the dark, like children. When a child is being produced, it's being produced in the darkness of the womb. And then when it's ready to be shown, then you show it. You feel me? Like, we in the beginning stages. Everybody ain't need to be knowing. You feel me? So let us build in silence. You feel me? And then once we strong and we got our footing together and all that, we can let the world know.
Facts. Now, I feel you though. I feel you, because I'm thinking about that too. I mean, I don't know. I'm not really. Would you? Are you cool with dating like a entertainer? Somebody who's like in the spotlight like that, or further in the spotlight, should I say?
I have before. My ex was a rapper, and I'm like, nah.
Not again.
It's like, a lot of times entertainers and rappers and stuff be like low-key insatiable. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so much being thrown their way. And it's like, I'm just not in the mood. You feel me? And it's not a knock to any like entertainers that might like actually be serious and not be trying to play around, but I'm not in the mood.
Okay. I feel it. I feels it. Let me look into these comments right quick. My bad. First of all, let me put this bitch ass comment up. You can get the fuck up out of here, baby. Okay. Erica is beautiful. Let's show that one.
Thank you.
Women are not single by choice. It's men's choice. Women are so. Kevin Saunders talks about men having access to or controlling access to relationships in marriage. You agree?
What'd you say?
Do you agree that men control access to relationships in marriage?
I do agree to a degree. I mean, they could present the option there, but it's up to me as to whether or not I'll take it. You know what I'm saying? Because there's like, if I wanted to be in a relationship right now, I could. It's not like it's a difficult thing. You feel me? Like, it's not hard. if I wanted to have somebody, just to be with somebody, or if I just wanted to accept one of the folks that want to be with me, it's not a hard thing. Like, I'm not trying to sound conceited on here, but y'all sitting up, saying crazy stuff like some of y'all favorite blue check rappers and stuff ain't in my DMs every day. Like, let's not get it twisted, you feel me? But like I said, I'm trying to get it right. I'm not just trying to be with somebody for the sake of, oh, I'm so lonely. I actually understand what it means to be by myself. You know what I'm saying? And not up and oh, I'm lonely, so let me just get with somebody. That's out. That's how you make mistakes.
Yeah, that's something you don't actually too though. Even on the further side of that too, a lot of women wait too long too. Going back to Black women who the last generation teaching us not to really put as much emphasis on relationships, put as much importance on relationships and marriage. A lot of us be out here. Like, we just be like, we can act like we can just get up, pick up and get a man, whenever the hell we want to. We take advantage of the little bit of time, especially the pretty ones, because they get a little bit longer because they're pretty. But it's also like a sense of, you need to get up on it. At some point, you got to get a husband. You know what I'm saying? At some point, you got to progress, and do something that is selfless.
I feel like it's the need to do things right, though, because a lot of times people are enamored with the idea of being in a relationship, or they're enamored with the idea of being married rather than the reality of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and for me, like, growing up with both my parents being married and stuff, I understand that there's a difference between the idea of something and the reality of something. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to rush into something because people have an idea of things or have an idea of how I should, maneuver or operate, because they might not have seen that. Like, people might not have seen what I saw, that there's a reality of what we're talking about here. And if I'm going to do this reality, I want to do it right. And that's really what it boils down to. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be out here having problems and stuff, then having children and then being divorced and, and all that. Like, that's not the type of time I'm trying to be on, So I feel like doing it right is better than doing it quick.
Well, do you feel like you're lowering your risk doing this? Because it's something I've I'm starting to come to terms with, at least, is that it's going to be a risk regardless, whether you come into it, knowing a person after 5 years or a year. Either way, it's, that 10th year, it still could be shit go left.
Yeah, most definitely. It most definitely can, and I'm not saying that, like, people should wait years or put like a certain time period on certain things, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like we shouldn't rush into these type of things. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that we should take our sweet precious time, but I'm saying, like, don't rush into things and be intentional about what we're doing.
Yes, be intentional. Facts.
So I feel like with our people, we need to get more into the idea of instilling the marriage aspect early on, because in a lot of other cultures, children, they be like 12, 13 and stuff, and their families are already talking about them to marriage and about marriage and who they're gonna be with, and make the families and stuff, especially like in the Asian communities. It's very big in regards to like talking to their children early on about being with another Asian person and setting them up and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, I feel like these conversations need to be had earlier with our people, because we have this idea, especially now, like the millennial generation. I feel like we got like messed over the most. We got we got thrown into this world with this messed up economy. A lot of us just struggling to live in these rented apartments, getting housing and stuff, like, is very difficult. So just in general, like, not even just Black women, but millennials of all races as a whole are having less children and are getting married and getting in serious relationships later, because the financial stability is not nowhere near close to being there. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
So it's like, I feel like a lot of these things have to be factored in when we talk about stuff like that, because a lot of, like, at my age, my parents were already married, you know what I'm saying? And they were having children at this time,
Yeah, mine too.
They had a house, you feel me? They were working jobs, and, they were like stuff that they was in years. Nowadays people, like, they get a job and they're not staying with the company because the company is paying pennies and trying to find any way to like not pay people what they're worth, you know? So I feel like there's a lot of things that have to be factored in when we're considering, like, we're not able to just move like how the prior generations were moving, you know? And especially with men, nothing changes a man more than not being able to provide like how he wants to, you know? That was one of the swiftest changes that I saw in my ex. Is like some things went south with his finances, and he turned into a totally different man. You know,
Really?
it's like they don't even want to deal with women when they not in a right financial situation. Or at least that's what I've seen.
That's a fact. Nah, that's a fact. Actually, my ex did the same thing. That's a fact.
You know, so it's like it's a lot of men out here that's they nowhere near close to where they want to be financially, so they're not in that mental space yet. You know?
Yeah, this is true. And honestly, a lot of women, like, I don't think it's nothing wrong. I actually think it's okay because on one hand, we have to be realistic. You know, a lot of black men, I think the average black man is making like 40 to 50,000. Okay. But even if we're not talking about the average, we're talking about below average. You know, a lot of our sisters, they still gonna have to get with the below average, you know? So I think a lot of us have to be realistic within that and understanding that some of us is gonna have to, you know, participate in this struggle love. Y'all gonna have to be the ride or dies that keep riding till the wheels fall off or till he can keep building, get a new set of wheels. You know what I'm saying?
It's the building together type of thing because my parents, I mean, now my parents, they have multiple properties and they have acres and all of that. But before, like when I was little, we lived on 78th and Normandy, which is in South Central LA. It was the hood. You feel me? And it was in a 2-bedroom house. My parents had one room, me and my brothers had the other. It was a struggle. You feel me? So my parents, like, I'm not expecting like a man at my age to be like where my father is now. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
So like, I understand that like my mom and my dad worked together to build and they've built things together, you know? So I feel like we do have to understand that aspect. There's nothing wrong with building with somebody, you know, just as long as that man is intentional and ambitious, because an ambitious man is never going to be broke for long. Never.
That's a fact though. That's a fact. These are facts. And hold on, let me get I got a question from Patreon for you too. This girl asked me a question for you. Shout out to my Patreon members. Shout out to the Patreon members. Y'all the real ones, okay? The realest ones. I appreciate y'all. But so Jazz, I actually think I seen her in the chat. Jazz asked me, and I already kind of asked you the first part of this question. My question to her is, when did her journey begin of becoming conscious? Also, how long has she been Muslim, and any tips on converting to becoming a Muslim?
The consciousness kind of started when I was 7. My family moved, and my dad, we moved from a place where it was just all Black people. We were in South Central LA to the Antelope Valley, right? And there was a whole lot of white people out there. My dad didn't want us to assimilate and for us to start acting like the white kids. So every night he had us sit down and together as a family read a chapter of the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, right? And so at the time I was 7, but we would read it aloud and I would visualize these things. And that's what got me started on this path. Like 7, 8-year-old Erica was more militant than Erica is now. Like, you know what I mean? I was on one. Like, they told us to make like a Christmas quilt. Mine was red, black, and green. They told us to draw our favorite animal. Mine was a Black Panther. I had a folder in the 4th grade, like, say I'm Black and I'm proud. And then I wrote on my school folder, like, say it low, you white and you slow. Like,
I'm down. So that is what you call it. I'm weak.
Yeah, I was on one. But so that's how it started, right? And then from there, I was just, I don't know, I just was obsessed with it. I printed out the Willie Lynch letter and had my classmates, like, I passed it around to my Black friends and had them read it. I was in the 4th grade. So it was just, I was on one, you feel me, after that. So it started young with my father. You know, he wanted us to know who we were, you know. And then in regards to like the Nation of Islam, that happened in around 2016. So that was a few years ago. And I just started going to the mosque. I know like a lot of the mosques are closed right now because of you know, the pandemic and all of that. Some of them might start opening up, but depending on where you are, you can Google like Nation of Islam mosque in whatever city, and you'll be able to see, you know, whatever city that you're in, like where the mosque is. excuse me, and it should have contact information. So you can get in contact and it will be an actual person. Like you will talk to a sister and she'll get, she'll get you into a so-called squad. That's what, that's what it would be referred to. But it's very easy. And if you want, you can, let me see. You can hit me up on Instagram, DM me if you'd like more information. And I'll try to, look for it and make sure I see it.
It's lit. Jazz, I hope you heard that, homie, because I'm not bringing it back. So, that's a blessing. And the nation, right quick, right before I end this, what's one of the major things that you learn from the sisters in the nation that has helped you become a step further into your womanhood today?
One of the things that I learned from the sisters is just the things that we're being taught about, like being the best version of ourselves that we can be. Like in the nation, there was a book called like How to Take Care of Your Husbands, right? But the book was actually about how to get yourself together, honestly. It had that title, but it was saying like the best way to care for yourself and your families is to make sure that you are where you should be. In the nation, there's a term that we have of being like skilled in our 7 units. And the 7 units is being able to cook, being able to clean, being able to sew, being able to take care, like rear our children, knowing how to act at home and abroad. It's all these different things. So it just basically taught me that in order to better my community and be better for Black people as a whole, I have to really look inwardly and try to better myself. That's what it boils down to. Like we have a lot of oh, you're welcome. Thank you. We have a lot of a lot of times we'll say, well, the Black community needs to do this or the Black community needs to do that. Nah, start with yourself. Overall change starts with the individual. So that's what it's taught me, like to really, really look at myself and how I can be the best me possible. And that will in turn help our community as a whole.
Facts. And I love to see it. I think we can end it right there. Perfect sound back. That's a blessing. You got anything come up? You want to let the people know to look out for something?
Yeah, some stuff coming. I can't really say exactly what it is just yet, but just know it's some fire stuff coming. So be on the lookout,
Yeah, y'all make sure you follow her on the gram to go all her information. So ain't no excuse. You feel me? But I appreciate you so much for coming on here, Shorty. We definitely need more conversations like this. We got to have more Black women coming together to talk about this shit, like that ass. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of us out here, the ones that we have access to ain't even fucking listening. So we should take advantage of those of us who are really trying, to better ourselves, to better our community. Right. I appreciate you, sister. It's a blessing.
Likewise, I appreciate you too. Thank you so much for the invitation. This was probably the best interview that I've ever done. You were an awesome. Somebody said in the comments, you were really a dope interviewer. Like, no.
Oh, bless. Hey, look, tell me, look out for me. I'm trying to get a little shout sound.
Yeah, most definitely. Send me them sound bites. You know what I'm saying? So I can post them up.
All right, Shorty, I'm gonna let you go, man.
All right.
Okay, guys, we out there, bitch. I hope y'all enjoyed the show. Eric, I still see you in the room. All you gotta do is exit out. You gotta exit out. I can still see you. I'm looking at you right now. I can't hear you. Hold up. What you say? Oh Lord, she out. There she goes. She out now. I'm weak as hell. All right, y'all. Make sure y'all follow my Patreon. This video will be up on Patreon. It's coming off YouTube. I hope you enjoyed it. But this bitch is coming off YouTube tonight. Okay, it's going on Patreon. It will be up there tonight. Okay, so if you want this video, go to my Patreon. Link is not in the description because I forgot to put it there. So just go to my last video. Go to my last video. Get it out of the description. Don't go to my Instagram. Other than that, make sure you follow me on my Instagram. __CFWM. Follow me on Twitter, Shata_you. Follow me. Hit my Cash App. Help me out. Hit my Cash App if you really want it. If you really fuck with me. Hit my Cash App. ZZBIH. Other than that, baby, that's all I got. I'm about to be out. All right, y'all.